So we are going to dive right in here. As you can see from the title slide, today's webinar is about how to massively increase content ROI with AI from Jasper. So we really, really appreciate you all being here with us today, making the time. And we're really excited for today's webinar because over the next hour, we're going to not just learn how AI can boost content ROI, we're going to actually see this in action. So that's because we're joined today by the folks at Jasper, which is the purpose-built generative AI platform for marketing. And Jasper is going to show us exactly how to get much more out of the content that we create using their platform. Now, before we do that, I would like to quickly introduce you to the wonderful presenters we have today. Andrew Su is an enterprise solutions engineer at Jasper. His role is focused on using generative AI to help companies grow and scale their business with both unique and practical use cases. Tom Newton is the VP of Revenue Marketing at Jasper. He has built and led marketing teams at fast-growing SaaS companies for the last decade. At Jasper, he is focused on leveraging AI to drive increased efficiency, personalization, and bottom line impact. Tom, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today.
Definitely.
And I will be your MC for the next 50-ish minutes here. My name is Mike Kaput. I am the Chief Content Officer here at Marketing AI Institute. I am regularly using, researching, testing dozens of different AI tools and strategies to grow and scale our traffic, leads, and revenue, which is why today's webinar is a topic near and dear to my heart. Now, before I turn things over to Andrew and Tom to kick us off, I just want to quickly say a few words about Marketing AI Institute. We are growing our audience pretty significantly each and every month, every single webinar. So some people in the audience may not know us and what we do. We are a media, event, and education company. We have been helping leaders both in marketing and every other business function understand, pilot, and scale AI since, if you can believe it, way back in 2016. Now, we do that by reaching hundreds of thousands of people each year through our website, our hit podcast, The Artificial Intelligence Show. We reach thousands of people through our industry-leading events, including our annual Marketing AI Conference, or MACON. This past year, we actually had over 1,100 people join us in person for 3 days at MACON 2024. And we actually expect 2025, by the way, to be an even bigger success. So if you are interested in joining us and more than 1,100, probably be closer to 15 or 1,600 or more this year, of your fellow marketing and business professionals, go to Macon, MAICON.ai to learn more and use the code webinar100 for $100 off your ticket. We also offer a range of AI courses through our AI Academy, including our piloting AI course, our scaling AI course, and our AI Mastery membership. All of these are designed to dramatically accelerate your AI adoption, no matter what stage of your learning journey you're at. You can find out more about all of this at marketingaiinstitute.com. Click on education for all of our education offerings and events to learn more about Macon and our virtual events. Okay, one last slide here before I turn things over to Tom and Andrew. Today's webinar is what we call one of our AI in action webinars. That is intentional. These webinars are specifically designed to provide a behind the scenes look into exactly how AI technology works, straight from leading AI vendors. That means Andrew and Tom are not just going to share some valuable information, though they will do that, but they're also going to show you a demonstration of how to achieve all the stuff we're talking about using Jasper. So the whole point of this is going from information to action by giving you a glance at how AI works under the hood. A couple quick reminders are on this slide. These are very important, as I'm sure you will want to know about these during and after the webinar. An on-demand recording is going to be sent out via email within 24 hours. So if you have to jump early, you don't get to see the whole thing, we will send out the recording. Please ask any questions you have in the chat or in the Q&A function in Zoom. We are going to do a dedicated Q&A section at the end. The more questions we get, hopefully the more we can run through as quickly as possible at the end. So please, if you have a question, drop it in there throughout the presentation. Our team will be taking a look at those and fielding those for the conversation between myself, Tom, and Andrew at the end. All right, without further ado, let's get to it. Tom, Andrew, take us away.
Thanks so much, Mike. And definitely, again, thank you to everyone who's taken some time out of their day from, it sounds like, all over the world to join us here to talk about AI for marketing and how, you can really scale not only content, but also impact and ROI from an AI investment. Like Mike said, I'm Tom. I'm the VP of Revenue Marketing at Jasper. I'm very excited to be chatting with you all, and you'll be hearing from Andrew in a little bit for the actual demo. But before we get to the demo, I do want to, set the table, set the stage a little bit about Jasper and about where we are as marketers in this AI transition. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Jasper is the AI platform built for marketing success. But I think even in that, there's a bit of a question of how can AI actually drive marketing success? We all know that AI is transforming how marketers work, how most people work, but definitely for the context of this webinar, how marketers work. And if you look at this chart here, right, on the left is sort of our historical. The purple line is a marketing team, which over time, ideally is increasing their impact and becoming even more efficient. But we've always been constrained, right? Typically by budget, headcount, there can be other components. And so the purple dot kind of in the middle is what we refer to as the AI inflection point, the point at which AI adoption starts to really transform business processes. And this is the exciting moment, right? Because it's moving beyond the constraints that we've been bound by historically to really drive efficiency at scale. And not only incremental sort of like one-off efficiency, but sustained efficiency and sustained impact that can drive real revenue growth. And so we Jasper know that this is possible to get to this AI inflection point and really drive ROI from an AI investment with marketing because of our customers. And one of those customers in the real estate space, Cushman Wakefield, has seen pretty massive ROI moving from a POC with Jasper to sort of a very broad-based rollout. And the key to getting there was kind of classic, right? They started with the goals and metrics they were looking to impact, aligned that to the business process they wanted to transform, and then built from there. The problem, though, is that getting to an AI inflection point is difficult. And most businesses haven't gotten there yet, or aren't even sure how they can get there. And we have a pretty good hunch as to why there's this gap, right? So there was a study done in Europe recently that showed that 65% of employees say that they are adopting and using AI. But when that same survey interviewed the business leaders in those organizations, half of them reported that they weren't seeing any business impact from AI. So that's not great, right? And this is what we've been talking about as the AI impact gap, where individuals are saying they're using AI, leaders are not necessarily saying they're seeing the impact on bottom line metrics and revenue. So if we double click into the 65%, right? Employees say they probably are adopting AI. What tools do we think they're using? Likely it's chatbots, copilots, horizontal general purpose tools as a starting point. And I think that is where a lot of this gap is coming from, right? Because those tools are great for individual sort of acts of AI, summarizing content, writing a blog, but they don't have the business context to understand how to actually drive a business forward. And so at least from our perspective at Jasper, we believe that AI transformation for marketing requires a domain-specific approach. When we think about how we, Jasper, can help marketers and companies kind of bridge this AI impact gap and get to this AI inflection point, there are really three key things. We need marketers to trust Jasper and trust that the outputs are going to be high quality and on brand. This is something that you don't always get with generic AI, and it's a frustration point for individuals and even for organizations, right? When you spend a ton of time prompting, you get an output that's fine, but maybe you should have just written the thing yourself because it took so long to get like a mediocre output that still needs to be edited. Also, we want to empower marketers with an experience that's not just kind of like the MS-DOS of 2025, where it's line by line, enter, get text, right? So thinking about an interface that is tailored to marketing and tailored to the complexities of how marketers work. And the last piece is delivering AI in the flow of work, right? It needs to be embedded into every workflow and also be embedded into the broader ecosystem that marketers work in by being integrated into the tools that marketers are using every day. So from a platform perspective for Jasper, and we'll get into how this ties into scaling your content and scaling campaigns, but I think this is just helpful context in getting there. As we think about the Jasper platform, it sort of builds from the bottom up, right? We have our LLM layer. And for those who are interested, Jasper is a model optimized approach. So we are LLM agnostic. We use 39 different LLMs under Jasper. Some of them are our own. And we look at the job to be done and make sure that we align that job to the model that's best suited to the task. On top of that is really like the secret sauce of Jasper, which is our Jasper IQ layer. And this is where we're going to spend most of the time today. We'll have 2 demos with Andrew that will show you how this Jasper IQ can really supercharge your outputs and how you can leverage existing content, new content. But this Jasper IQ layer is really about understanding the context of your business in order to get really high quality outputs. This, is a really critical layer to help you get past that AI inflection point and kind of the random acts of AI. Then we have our experience layer, which is the interface and making sure that it's embedded in the workflow of work. And then at the top of all of this are agents, right? Fusing all of this together where Jasper becomes more proactive and can actually suggest optimizations or next steps. This is a deeper dive view of basically the same thing, our platform architecture. The line that I think it's worth focusing on here is really the knowledge and context layer, because this is where you move from generic to highly tailored and high quality outputs. But there are 3 components. There's marketing knowledge, which consists of sort of industry best practices, multimodal knowledge. There's company knowledge, which is all of your company information that you can include and upload into Jasper as context. And then your actual brand knowledge, right? Your voice and tone guide, your style guide, your visual guidelines, so that Jasper understands your brand, your business context, as well as marketing best practices. And when these 3 things come together, right? Company knowledge, brand IQ, marketing IQ, Jasper becomes a very powerful place, a very powerful sort of context system of record that gives you sort of rich and powerful outputs that are going to be on brand in a way that you're not going to see from a generic horizontal platform. Amazing. Okay. So that's the preamble. Now we'll get to what everyone has been waiting for, which is a little bit of a demo deep dive into how these can impact your workflows as a marketer. We're going to split this up into 2 sections, sort of 2 demos with Andrew. The first one will be on brand IQ, which is really focused on the brand voice and tone, brand guidelines. And the second one will be more on marketing IQ. So we'll start with brand IQ and would love to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Tom. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here. Let's give me a thumbs up if we're good.
Yeah, looking good.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew Su. I'm a solutions engineer here at Jasper. But for this first section of the demo where we're talking about brand IQ, I'm going to wear a different hat. I'm going to play the role of a creative operations manager at Bohemia, a global lifestyle retail company. Now, at Bohemia, we're about to launch our new seasonal home decor collection. And we just got back some amazing imagery from a photo shoot that we just did, as you can see here. Now, the rest of my marketing team needs to use these images to promote this new line. but I need to make sure that they are using these images properly and meeting our brand guidelines. And we have a lot of brand guidelines. Right here, this is just a snapshot of our 100+ page brand book. And we also have a lot of marketing employees, more than 1,000. And historically, we have had a process requiring an art director to review every asset for brand compliance, but not anymore with Jasper. With Jasper, we can use AI to automate brand management, and that starts here with Jasper's Brand IQ. Here's Jasper's Brand IQ suite, and let me show you how I use it to set up new brand guidelines. And I'll start with creating a new visual guideline specific to this launch. As you can see here, I have a list of all these visual guidelines per the different channels that it's relevant for. And I'm going to select this initial one here, which is the Instagram visual guideline. And here, while Jasper already has my corporate brand guidelines, we have some new specific guidelines for this specific product launch. Because it's home decor, we want the promotional images to be in light-filled rooms. We want the approved color palette. And of course, right, we want the product to always be center and front and center and the most prominent item that you see, without any sort of weird cropping or anything like that. All right. So now I've set these visual guidelines. And the next thing I need to do and think about is ensuring that I have the right tone to resonate with my target audience. Now, this is high-end home decor, and we are targeting women aged 30 to 45 who appreciate the finer things in life. So I want the tone that is feminine, artistic, and adventurous. Now, here, this is a great starting point, but tone oftentimes with AI is hard to get right. And I'm sure many of us here in this webinar can relate to the prompting and prompting that it takes to make it sound smarter, make it sound more authentic, and it still doesn't sound quite right. And that could be a time-consuming and frustrating process. But really, with Jasper's intuitive brand voice studio that you see here, fine-tuning takes another level, and you can actually train the voice with easy-to-add gold standard excerpts. And you see here, I've added 4 of these excerpts to this brand voice for my Bohemia brand. So now that I've set up the brand voice, I'm going to go ahead now switch roles again and wear the hat of a social media marketer at Bohemia. Now, as a social media marketer, I need to create a series of posts to promote this new home decor line. And I'm going to start in Jasper's AI app library, which you see here. Now, social media is just one of the many out-of-the-box applications that we have set up that has our marketing IQ, that has our best practices layered on top, as you see me here quickly scrolling through. But me as a social media marketer, the application that I really care about is going to be the social media campaign app. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And I'm going to use this app. And now Jasper will guide me through the process of setting up my social media workflow. Because of marketing IQ and marketing best practices are baked into this model here, so Jasper already knows how to create best-in-class posts across all the platforms. No need for me to spend time building prompts to get specific outputs I need. And from here, I can select the brand voice right here. That's Bohemia, my brand. And I could see that I've added some instructions into these inputs, into this easy-to-use interface where I'm adding dynamic parameters here, right? So we want to market the new vases, mugs, and pictures for Bohemia. I want to use Instagram as the main platform that I want to post the socials on, right? Here's my audience, as well as a call to action and some timelines that I've put in. And now from here, I'm going to run this generation. And voila, here are my posts in the right structure, with the right brand voice, with the right timeline, with the right set, or with the right themes, right, for each of these deliverables and each of the timelines. But now that I have these posts, right, that have been generated in the right structure and the brand voice, now I actually have to refer back, right, to those initial images, right, that my team had a great photo shoot on. And now I need to incorporate these images into these great posts that I've created. Now, I've already done that here in this section here. And this is an example of one of those images that I put in. And now we can see here that we have these brand guidelines that will generate. Now, remember previously, I set up these visual guidelines and I told Jasper that the image and the should always be centered and square, right? That has to be well lit. And now we're actually checking the image against these guidelines, and immediately we see that it's being called out. This image that we input into this post is actually not complying with our guidelines. And so Jasper will call that out, and I can actually come in here, and Jasper is actually telling us what to do with it, right? This image is not square, adjust the dimensions to be square. And I can actually do that right here within our marketing editor. And I can actually make this image square right here within Jasper. Now it's processing through, it's using AI, our own proprietary models to adjust and crop this image. And I'm going to save this image now. And now we see that the image has been changed. It's been made square. And now the visual guideline is running through again and checking through the guardrails, right, that I've set. And now we see that all the images are now approved. Now, these posts are not ready for prime time. And the final step that I have is just to schedule them for publication. Now, locally, I can automate that process in HubSpot with Jasper's marketing workflow automation. So I'll go ahead and do that here, generate marketing content. And now the data has been sent successfully. And now while we're waiting for that automation to happen, let's review what we just saw here. We have used AI to automate the brand management process, accelerate and scale content creation process. Now we're automating the content distribution process. Because Jasper is purpose-built for marketers, it came with built-in marketing knowledge and context. It was easy and intuitive with a product experience tailored exactly to me as a social media marketer, as a brand manager. And it understands and integrates with my business processes. Now let's go to HubSpot and check to see if those social posts are ready to go. And boom, here they are. They're lined up and they're scheduled for publication here. And this is an example of what that post will look like. Now here, this is the power of Brand IQ, and that is the power of Jasper. Now back to you, Tom.
Oh, Tom, I think we need to, you're on mute.
Every time. Sorry, everyone. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, even as a marketer, I get excited about this stuff. I know I was talking through it very much in theory at the top, but this is more than just generic chat, right? This is integrated into the flow of work. Andrew was able to push those posts to HubSpot or whatever social platform you're using. He was able to use Jasper to confirm that the brand images or the images that we had followed our brand guidelines, as well as actually creating the Instagram posts that were following industry best practices and all of our business context to generate posts that were basically out of the box, ready to go. So it's massive, right? Like this brand IQ layer as part of Jasper IQ. The next piece we're going to talk about is marketing IQ. And so this is Jasper's proprietary multimodal, which is important, and Andrew will walk through what that sort of looks like, marketing knowledge layer that deeply understands marketing and sits on top of these general purpose LLMs. This is sort of built in across every Jasper app and workflow, but you can also upload multimodal knowledge to Jasper. So that could be documents, it could be spreadsheets, it could be images, it could be videos, it could be audio. And all of that starts to build this really rich context layer that informs every output that's coming out of Jasper to make sure that it is on brand and sort of what you are looking for, right? We're trying to get you 95 to 100% of the way there versus like a 70% draft. So we'd love to, again, hand it over to Andrew to walk through a little bit of a marketing IQ demo.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Tom. I'm going to share my screen now. All right. Thanks, Tom. Now, for this demo, I'm going to wear another persona, right? I'll be stepping into the shoes of one of our partner marketers here at Jasper. Now, with like many companies, Jasper is awash in digital content, everything from webinars, podcasts, blogs, product launches. But really, the challenge is this: how can we extract the full value from every asset that we produce? Now, to make things a bit meta and super relevant to how we're connecting today, I'm actually going to use our last webinar with the Marketing AI Institute as my source material. So you see here, this is that video on the screen. The last webinar we ran with the Institute was about redefining an ABM playbook. And now this serves as a prime example of marketing content that required a significant amount of time, investment, energy, and resources from both our team at Jasper as well as the Institute's team to create. It's packed with valuable insights and information that our target audience would benefit immensely from. But how do we ensure that this webinar gets the most exposure and reach as possible? How can we ensure that it reaches the right people at the right time and extract every ounce of knowledge from it? Now, this is really where Jasper's multimodal knowledge will come in. Now, with our platform, we're able to analyze and understand all types of content and use this content as context and knowledge to generate quality marketing optimized outputs. And as you can see here, Jasper isn't limited to just text. It's now equipped to handle audio files and video files, as well as soon to come spreadsheets and image files like Tom just mentioned. Now with Jasper, I can simply go ahead and find that video of the previous webinar recording. And we can put the days of manual transcription and laborious note-taking behind us. When I click this button, Add to Group, Jasper quickly processes and understands both visual and spoken content, analyzing each frame in detail to generate metadata, concise summaries, and chapterized transcriptions. Jasper's interoperable and model-optimized design allows it to seamlessly integrate with advanced models like Gemini for video and audio processing, ensuring efficient and versatile performance across various tasks and key foundational models. Now, I've already added this piece of knowledge prior to the demonstration, as you can see here. And now we can use this video-based piece of knowledge to create derivative, additional, impactful content. For example, after every sort of webinar, there's usually some sort of blog post or a blog recap, right? Until now, let's look into our app library and find that we have this blog recap for digital marketing events here. All right, so here's that application that I can use. And I can open that up. And similarly, right, like our Brand IQ example, this application is baked in with our marketing intelligence right on top, right? And so it's asking me for that knowledge piece, right, which is that previous webinar. I'm going to go ahead and select the Jasper brand voice because this is marketing of the webinar that we did with the Institute previously. And I'm going to go ahead and start generating this content. Now, again, you're going to see Jasper produce this content with those best practices layered on. And it's automatically structuring the blog recap with an engaging summary and an easy to follow breakdown of the webinar topics. We see that Jasper is even able to call out the previous webinar speakers who were Mike and my colleague Ari. And that really demonstrates that Jasper truly is understanding the content of that last Marketing AI Institute webinar, right? So we see here, right, Ari is being called out here and Mike is being called out here. Mike, we love you on these webinars, man. We appreciate you.
Hey, I think Jasper's probably about to make me sound a lot smarter than I was on this webinar, so I'm happy about it.
Awesome. Now for here, right, for marketers, this solves a huge problem, right? The idea of how do you get an audience engaged with complex content at a glance? This application does that for you in that blog recap. Now, in addition to a blog recap, I can create more derivative content like email sequences or even social copy tailored to specific audiences, enabling me to further amplify the impact of this webinar by creating a full campaign in minutes. And I can do that with our multi-channel campaign application that you see here, right? So if I open this up and we can see, like, again, I could set up the brand voice. I can point to that piece of knowledge, which was a previous webinar recording, and I can be guided through the campaign purpose. I put in here the campaign purpose is to promote the recording of Jasper's Marketing AI's to webinar. And we even see here that Jasper is actually servicing some suggestions because Jasper is understanding and recognizing the context, the knowledge that we put up here in the app settings, right? So it's drive engagement with Jasper AI, showcase AI personalization benefits, right? And of course, you can select any of these and finesse it, but this is really where Jasper is going to be tailored for those marketing use cases. And this is our marketing IQ in action. Who is our target persona? I put in tech-savvy marketing professionals seeking innovations, but we see even further suggestions based on the context we're providing this application at the top. Even something like this, the campaign message. I could actually regenerate this response accordingly as well. And you're going to see Jasper actually give you guidance on how to build out a multi-channel campaign. Last but not least, I'm going to select the bill of materials that I care about for marketing this previous webinar, talking about ABM targeting and personalization. So I want an email sequence. I want some LinkedIn ads, X ads, some posts across social, and some proposed blog content. I'm going to select the appropriate voice like you see here, right? The brand voice. And now let's go ahead and generate this content. So now Jasper is looking at all of these inputs, layering in the best practices in marketing IQ, recognizing and ingesting all of the metadata and all the information from that previous webinar recording. And now we see Jasper is creating this whole list of bill of materials for me to launch for my campaign. Now, it's not going to be 100%, right? There's got to be a person in the loop, a human in the loop to review this content. But really, we want to get you 80% of the way there, 90% of the way there. And imagine if you can save that amount of time, how much more strategic tasks and how much more strategic initiatives you can focus on. And if we can give you that first draft of the email sequence, if we can give you the first draft of the LinkedIn ads, we can even give you suggested blog content ideas, why not use that and propel the business forward in that way? Now, we can dive a little deeper into what's happening behind the scenes with a little bit more of a dynamic example. And to illustrate and showcase the precision and insights that Jasper can extract, we'll use a few of Google's year-end search videos. So here is the 2024 video, and then here is the 2022 video. And I've actually gone ahead and uploaded both of these videos into Jasper as knowledge. So as you see here, right? So here are those two videos. And now from here, I can actually begin some research and ideation within Jasper Chat. And I can ask the following prompt. I have included Google's annual year-end search video for 2024 and 2022. Please analyze and outline the thematic differences between those 2 years. And I can go ahead and come in here and I can enhance that, or rather I could select those knowledge items, right? I go find them. Where are they? Let me see. Oh, I could search though. There we go. 2024, and then I'm going to go in here, search 2022. I'm going to attach those two. And now I've asked Jasper to analyze those thematic differences. And we see here, and the Jasper is saying, is generating and analyzing this content. And it's going to give me an overview. Key differences, right? Looks like 2022 emphasizes personal growth and individual transformation. 2024 highlights collective breakthroughs and global moments of inspiration. Now, let's say if we want an even deeper understanding, Jasper can actually provide timestamps for every key figure and event after putting a prompt like this, right? Coming here. So I'm going to go ahead and ask for 2024, can you list all the people and fictional characters that are featured in the video and a short summary of what is featured? And here is the detailed list of people and fictional characters within that video that Jasper is understanding and calling out. And we see that Jasper is generating insights like we see here, right? Simone Biles is featured at that 118, 125 mark. Right after her is Steph Curry, showcasing his Olympic performance. And if we actually go to that video and we go to that 116 mark, oops, right here, there's Simone Biles, right? And then right after her, we see Steph Curry, right? And so this is just highlighting that Jasper truly is understanding the content within that video piece of knowledge. Now, this precision is unmatched. Jasper isn't just about automating for speed. It's about empowering businesses with actionable intelligence to create meaningful stories. Now, here's what we've accomplished today using Jasper's multimodal knowledge within Marketing IQ. We turned one single audio or video file into summaries, campaigns, and actionable marketing assets within minutes. We uncovered deep insights from complex media, and we turned insights into a campaign strategy and created a complete on-brand bill of materials. Now, marketing and product teams can now operate faster, smarter, and more aligned than ever. With Jasper, you're not able to just keep up with the digital age. You're able to lead it by using a purpose-built marketing tool like Jasper. And really, that's the power of Jasper's marketing IQ and multimodal knowledge. And it's dynamic, efficient, and undeniably impactful. Now it's back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Andrew. That was awesome. I personally love the demo with the year in review and just like you were saying, the level of specificity that Jasper's able to pull out, because obviously that's not necessarily an immediate sort of for every marketer relevant example, but marketers work across all forms of content, right? Video, audio, text, data. And so being able to pull all of that together into Jasper and then have Jasper as a partner with ideation, but then also for the actual derivative asset creation, right? It starts to really grow and build on itself.
All right. So Tom, Andrew, are you guys ready for some questions from the audience? Because we have a ton of them coming in fast and furious.
Yeah, 100%.
Excellent. Okay. So just a quick caveat here for the audience. I don't think we're going to be able to get to all the awesome questions that everyone submitted. We're going to get through as many as possible. But if you do have a question that's not answered, you think of one later, please just go to the Jasper website and feel free to reach out to them. They can connect you really quickly to the information that you need. But let's try to knock some of these out. So first, before we get into the questions, one of the questions was actually just a comment, and I wanted to mention it because it's an awesome comment to hear. Someone said, look, this isn't a question per se, but the AI generated posts you showed actually feel natural, not obvious AI. Thumbs up. So just kind of a testament to the power of including all of your unique brand and marketing IQ.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So Tom, first up, like the kind of question on my mind is like, this is clearly enabling more creative, more impactful use cases than if you're a marketer just like staring at a blank prompt window in ChatGPT. Now, there's no doubt like with the right prompting architecture, you can do like a little of this stuff here and there, but it was really cool to see this all just happen really quickly all at once in the same platform. Like, can you talk to me a little bit about why Jasper is different and better than ChatGPT for these kinds of use cases?
Yeah, 100%. I think, like I said, kind of at the top or in the presentation earlier, our theory is that the way to this AI inflection point for marketers is with a domain specific approach. And probably a lot of folks on the call are familiar with Gartner and Gartner stats, but one that they had recently was that by 2027, more than 50% of Gen AI models that enterprise use will be domain specific, up from about 5% last year in 2024. So I do think there's sort of this growing recognition and momentum around domain-specific applications of AI because of the nuance, right? And I love that comment. So thank you to whoever shared that. But those are like the aha moments for me too, as a marketer at Jasper, right? This marketer at an AI marketing company, very meta experience. But it's like the moments when the outputs from Jasper are really good, or like sort of like, I wish I had thought of that. That is a big difference from using a generic tool that doesn't have the context layer, and doesn't necessarily understand your brand or your company or marketing even. Like a LinkedIn post is different from an Instagram post, is different from an X post, is different from a blog, is different from a landing page, like all of these things have their own sort of best practices. And so, yeah, like just getting that out of the gate can feel really magical once you do sort of start leveraging this context layer.
So we had a few questions about, you're uploading your data to Jasper. Obviously, you guys are used by some of the huge brands, especially ones that are in industries that have to worry about like compliance and security. Can you talk to me just a little bit about that? Like, I know there's people asking about SOC 2 compliance, HIPAA, all those kinds of regulations and things. Like, how is Jasper secure and confidential with that?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, we are very compliant in the sense that we work with some of the world's largest organizations. We have about 20% of the Fortune 500 as Jasper customers, and a lot of those are cross industries, including in pharma and healthcare. So we do work with companies that deal with sensitive data and have specific issues. I think that's, to a certain extent, um, part of the power of Jasper is this walled garden on top of LLMs, that can be very secure. We have a compliance portal for folks who are interested. I think offhand, we are SOC 2, PCI DSS, GDPR, and CCPA compliant. But if folks have additional compliance questions, would be great to reach out to the team and we can certainly answer them for you.
That's awesome. Another kind of interesting use case people were talking about and a few people were asking about is like, there's some agency owners, agency leaders on the call. Like as an agency, you're working with, multiple different clients. If you're the one that has like access to Jasper, can you set up different clients and like different brands on behalf of an agency? Like how does that kind of start to look?
Yeah, 100%. You can have multiple brands, and brand voices, within Jasper. And we've seen that, you know, with many of our larger customers, because even within, a large global enterprise, they will often have different business units, different brands, and those brands will have different attributes, different requirements. So as an example, we work with a massive e-commerce platform, that has multiple in-house brands as well as sort of their marketplace brand. And so for each of those brands, they're setting up the brand voice, brand guidelines that are nuanced and different, right? Because if you have a modern furniture brand, that's going to be different from like your rustic farmhouse interior accent brand or whatever it is. And you want Jasper outputs to reflect that. So it's true for enterprises. I think it's very true for agencies as well.
And just to be clear, we saw some really awesome examples of, kind of a mock B2C brand, but Jasper does tons of work in B2B as well. I mean, we talked about in the last webinar was a bit more B2B focused, some of the ABM playbook items we talked about, but can you just talk really briefly about, you work with both B2B and B2C, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, as everyone knows, there's nuance between B2B and B2C marketing. The team structures are slightly different. Who they're going after and how they go to market are different. So great case in point. We have a really powerful ABM workflow, that we talked about in our last webinar that Andrew was uploading the recording to create derivative content from. Recording is also available online. So if folks want to search Jasper, I think Marketing AI Institute ABM, it's probably one of the first results. But yeah, we have a really powerful APM solution. A lot of our workflows and solutions are B2B oriented, but we also partner with some massive, retail e-commerce B2C organizations. But no, we love them all.
Now, as we kind of went through some of the demo items, we don't have to get too in the weeds on this, but there is like, we'll post a link to it. There's like an integrations page with Jasper. Like that's how you were able to connect things to HubSpot. There's other tools there that you can also connect to. You don't have to use HubSpot, correct?
Yes, you do not have to use HubSpot. And even if we don't have a native integration, we internally have used Jasper's API and other platform APIs to sync data back and forth. So there are definitely ways that you can pull in a lot of first party data into
Right.
Jasper as context, and then also push Jasper generated content out into different surfaces and different tools.
That's cool. And yeah, I think you could get a good sense of that from Andrew's demos. Just like, even though HubSpot's the stand in there, it's like, think about how you would do this same idea with different platforms that Jasper supports.
Yeah, 100%.
So one other question, just in the kind of on the technical side, do we support more languages than English?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I pause and laugh because one of my first roles in tech was I was the Japanese marketing manager at Zendesk. So I was
Okay.
making all of the global English campaigns and
Yep.
localizing them for the Japanese market. There's a lot of nuance there. It's true for any sort of like regional international marketing manager. It was an amazing role. But that role can, in large part, now be done and handled by Jasper. We do officially support, I think, 80 languages, but there are more outside of that, depending on how niche you're looking to get. But as someone who is a sort of linguist and enjoys language, like I'm oftentimes just testing out what it looks like with Jasper to translate content, localized content for different regions. And it's also pretty impressive. So yes, we do support more than just English is the short answer.
Very cool. So when I'm looking at Jasper as a marketer and trying to leverage better kind of brand IQ, marketing IQ, are there any, I don't know, general tips or like advice you would have on like what kinds of things should I be uploading to it, telling it? It looked like there were tons and tons of different options. So I'm sure there's a wealth of things you can do, but just if I don't know where to start, like what would that
Yeah.
maybe look like?
Andrew, I'm kind of curious on your take there. From the brand side in particular. It's relatively self-guided, setting up brand voice and brand guidelines, which was sort of what Andrew was demoing in the first half. And I think some really powerful pieces of that are the snippets. So you can tell Jasper, these are great examples of my brand, but then you can also test it sort of live and sort of on the back end before you're rolling it out broadly. Make sure that you're feeling pretty good that you've given Jasper the right guidance, direction, inputs to create on-brand outputs. And then from what to upload for knowledge, it's contextual. But it's, I would kind of think about it as like, what am I, marketer? What am I looking at to inform whatever piece of content I'm trying to make? And so it can be pretty broad, right? Like when we use it for the ABM program, we are looking at target account lists, and for target accounts and target personas, we have data in a number of different places. So we have like notes in Salesforce that our sales team has taken. We have third-party data from like Clearbit, ZoomInfo, 6sense. Common Room, we have our first-party data in HubSpot about previous interactions. So like that's all stuff that I might take into account if I'm starting to research a company. Plus publicly available information. So what's on their website? What are their financial reports? Like whatever is public. We can now pull all of that together on an account by account basis, obviously a more B2B use case, and use that as context for Jasper to then generate outputs.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, I think there's no one size fits all here when providing context, right? I mean, it's like I think the kind of mental model is understand it can ingest different types of audio, video, and documents or text, and what kind you upload depends totally on kind of what goals you're trying to achieve, and also what context or information would you give a human colleague if they needed to go do this project, right?
Exactly.
So here's kind of an interesting, more of a trend focused idea rather than specifically about Jasper, but definitely related. Someone said, I feel like when I read articles, blog posts, LinkedIn posts by our competitors, it's obvious they're using AI. It's starting to all sound similar. Like, how do you avoid that when you're using a tool like Jasper? I suspect it's related exactly to what we just talked about, right? Including some more context.
Yeah. I mean, no one wants generic AI outputs. And that is like the worst possible outcome now that we
Right.
are, what is it, 3-4 years into this sort of journey with AI. And I would say if you're seeing content that reads as AI, that's a miss on that company.
Hmm.
And for Jasper in particular, everything we're talking about, this IQ layer, the knowledge, the brand voice, your proprietary multimodal context that you're uploading, all of these pieces come together to ideally get the output, like those sample social posts that feel natural, feel like a human has written them. I think Andrew mentioned this earlier. We aren't at the point, and I don't think anyone would recommend. We're not at a point where there's no human in the loop. So there's always still, I think, the review step and building confidence in the outputs, and that Jasper is creating on brand content at scale. But yeah, ideally, if you're using Jasper, that is less of a concern.
Right. And kind of like we saw and Andrew mentioned in those walkthroughs, like, I don't think anyone's saying like click a button and suddenly this whole marketing campaign, every post, every email, every blog is just going right to publication, right? This is designed for your humans who are experts to be able to not have to stare at a blank page and do all this upfront work to get
Yeah.
something to work with.
Yeah, there's actually, I'll see if I can kind of try to paraphrase, but our CEO made this comment recently that I really liked, of viewing AI as an ally, which, it becomes more capable. As AI becomes more capable, humans actually can become less machine-like. And so I thought it was really interesting because the way he was framing it is like a lot of our jobs, a lot of our day-to-days, regardless of what you're doing in marketing, it can be quite repetitive and quite mechanical. And so what does it mean to partner with a really powerful on-brand, contextually aware marketing AI, and create more space to be human in
Right.
that role? And I think there's something like really powerful there, that a lot of our roles in our day-to-day can be quite mechanical. So I don't know, there's just like this interesting relationship that I think will form as we move forward.
Yeah, something that just kind of popped into my head while you're saying that is, there's a few comments in here about, especially, you see this a lot on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I enjoy using LinkedIn for the conversations we have. But yeah, it's so rife on LinkedIn, like the AI generated content. And I would just say, to the point you just made, if anyone's thinking about that, you have such an advantage because all that bad stuff is actually an opportunity because the real stuff stands out more than ever. And you have way more time and bandwidth to think about how to create that and to actually do it when you take some of the heavy lifting, initial ideation, drafting off your plate.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, just a couple more questions I want to try to get to before we wrap up here. So you had mentioned a few examples, of how Jasper is kind of helping customers scale beyond proof of concepts or POCs. So this is something we see a lot of people in our audience struggle with. Like if I'm a marketer or a business leader, let's say I'm at the very beginning of this process. Like thankfully I did a POC, it worked well. I want to scale. That's a great position to be in, but it's a bit daunting. Like what is the next step there? Like what's the first thing I kind of need to be thinking about or doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the sort of fortunate position of having run an AI proof of concept that worked well, I would think about it, I think, maybe in two ways. One is, how do you take that proof of concept and get it to scale? And it depends, on how you structured the proof of concept. But ideally, if you're working with a platform like Jasper, there are ways that you can sort of take it from individual or more limited team and really roll that out across an organization. And so that's what we saw with that Cushman Wakefield example in particular, that it started as a proof of concept and then really grew across their entire marketing team as they started driving bottom line impact. But I think the other key thing is it's not sort of a one and done, right? Like, okay, you have a successful point of proof of concept. Let's get that to scale. But what are your next experiments? Like, what are the next playbooks that you might want to revisit, or workflows and processes you could revisit with Jasper, with AI? And that's where I'm like the most excited, right? Like as a marketer at this AI marketing company, it's like, what marketing playbook can I reimagine next? And like, that's the magic. That's the excitement, right? Of like, okay, we're going to start with personalizing some emails and running them as an A/B test against sort of Jasper generated versus human. Uh, it's not even human, like the templatized emails that we might use in marketing automation. We saw success there. Cool. Let's like then create Jasper powered personalized landing page experiences and map those to Jasper powered email experiences. And how does that perform versus historical? And so that's like how we got into the ABM workflow and sort of use case that we have internally. It's same thing with BDRs. So the BDR team at Jasper reports into me. Starting small, like how can we use Jasper to help with account research? How can we use Jasper to help propose personalized copy? How do we scale that out? Right. It's just like, I don't know, curiosity, I suppose, of like, what else could I reimagine with this?
Yeah, that's such a good point because we literally, I feel like, watched Andrew create a whole campaign that before technology like this I've done and would take a lot of manual work. And again, there's a human still involved, but it's pretty eye-opening when you see that happening in real time, even as part of a short webinar. And you're like, whoa, okay, we might need to go back to a blank and like start from scratch and reinvent how these workflows run or what's possible based on this technology.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Tom and Andrew, we are at the end here. We've only got a minute or two left. I'm going to ask you a final question. I try to ask all of our webinar participants. It's something our audience kind of always asks us in different contexts, but we like to ask people who are in different domains. So if you had one piece of advice for marketers, business people who are trying to get started with AI, go further with AI, take the next step with AI, what would it be?
I wasn't prepared for this one. All right.
That's why it's such a good question. It doesn't have to be, the world shattering advice.
Yeah,
It'll be any tip you got.
I don't know. I think like going back, I'm gonna fall back on what I was kind of just talking about, which is like, I think success with AI, forget about tools, forget about everything else, is really foundationally about curiosity. And like, we have this new powerful tool set. We have this new powerful capability that we didn't have 2 years ago, 3 years ago, especially if we think about like the domain specific tool set of Jasper. And so, how do you, what is it called? How do you do like, totally blanking. It's a very Silicon Valley techie thing. When you go back to zero.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like starting from like first principles or
There we
something
go.
like
There we
that.
go. There we
Yeah,
go. I feel like I
exactly,
said that every day of my life for the past like 15 years. And then it wasn't
Right. Right.
It's like first principles, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we've done it this way for a decade, for 15 years. How do we just reimagine? We now have this new power. We now have this new tool. What does it look like? And I think that's like a really good question to ask yourself.
I love that. That is such a great little like snippet to kind of put on a quote board or something. And Andrew, I'm going to turn the final second over to you. Do you have any tips, any advice?
Yeah, I think just piggybacking off of what Tom said, like piggybacking off of curiosity, it's like if you can think of something and if you have doubts that AI can do that thing, try it out because you'll probably find that it can help you in some regard, right? Even in your personal life. Like for me, I've used, different AI tools to help me plan a vacation, to figure out what I should do for my kid, or like, just there's always an angle, and think about it in a way where AI is not going to get tired, right? There is no such thing as a dumb question with AI. They're not gonna make you have lower self-esteem because they'll say, "Oh, why would you ask us common sense question like that?" There's nothing like that, right? And so I think really it frees up people to be more curious, like Tom is saying, and I think that curiosity will lead to more and more adoption of AI in your daily life. And then naturally, like for me, how I started, I was just naturally curious about AI for myself for my own little side passion projects.
Right.
And I started learning that. Then I come across Jasper, and I'm evaluating Jasper for my previous organization. And then I'm seeing all the cool stuff Jasper can do. And then I'm like, okay, I want to join this team. And now I'm a part of the team, right? And so that personal curiosity is what led me to even being a teammate here at Jasper, right? And so, I think just funnel that, right? Be an avid learner. And if you have that curiosity, I think you'll be a AI savant sooner rather than later.
I love that. That is fantastic advice. Tom, Andrew, really appreciate you both sharing all your experiences with Jasper and walking us through everything. Everyone who has attended and joined us today, really appreciate your time and attention. Thank you all so much. Again, if you have any further questions about Jasper, jump on their website and reach out to them. And until our next webinar, we will talk to you all soon. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks, Tom and Andrew.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Bye.
See y'all.